Manitoba. I wish to tell you why it's a good morning. Well, my gas came from Western Canada, not Arabia, whatever they call themselves. Clean energy from my brothers and sisters of this nation. And skies are kind of blue-gray. Trees are green. You're here and I'm here. Yeah, this election, boy, it's really not getting the coverage. How is it every time I see the free press trying to get in and interview that man I address as Justin. They're met by the goons, the goon squad. You can't come in here. You're not accredited. Well, just make a badge that says accredited free press. I mean, it's the people. See, this is why we're part of the free world. One of the reasons. It's the people that are the press. That's why it is a free press. That's why public servants have a duty, responsibility, and obligation to answer the questions of the free press. For years and years and years, that Mr. Suzuki dude, he would only take questions that were pre-approved. Unless you had a pre-approved question, he wouldn't take it. Okay, that's not free press. Did he pay the students to ask the questions? I don't know. But can you imagine, here we are in a day, right? 21st century, and with a well-established hundreds of years of free press, and yet it's being knocked off. So, free speech, free press, the right to own property. The public servants are now stating that they're co-parents of your kids and that they have a right to conduct your kids however they wish. And if you try to go to one of these private courts held at our public court buildings, of course the legal society tells you to shut up, puts a gag order on you. Courts are really important. That keeps us from attacking each other on the streets, leaving Antifa out of this whole equation. And it's a civil manner for civil society to be able to work out our differences. One of the biggest problems is people don't know the jurisdiction of the court that they're usually dragged into with chains, by chains, or they don't know the venue of the court. And venue is really, really important. And this is why I'm always calling for court of record, trial by jury, that only falls under the common law, where the magistrate is independent of the tribunal. Super important. That's our link between the free world. We don't have this court, which they seem to be hiding on people. And if anybody tries to hold, this fundamental court, right, to seek fundamental justice, then they're profiled. It's like anybody asking critical questions is profiled by the establishment now, by our public servants, which is treasonous, as white supremacists, national Nazis, blah, 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 blah. When our forefathers fought fascism, died for freedom, to help keep our European cousins free. you know, and I just apologize that I don't know how politics allowed the Soviets to take over half of Europe, but I wish we could have stood a little further so everyone could experience freedom. You know, you take a people that like our native cousins that have been put into prisoner war camps for so many years, treated as now through the excuse of their person as an Indian or Aboriginal under the Indian Act, you know, not being seen as a man or a woman with intrinsic inalienable fundamental rights. See, this way, the public servants, the out of control public service, we call it government. This way, this private society that runs our judiciary and that they haul you into these, these private courts, these statutory courts. You know, this is how they keep control, and this is how they kept our native cousins down so long, by just profile them as a legal person of some sort. So you take the whole long period, and so you have the government going in on the guys, not the white man. Okay, we are guilty. Okay, my forebears are guilty for not stopping this government's tyranny on this people, on our brother and sister Canadians. And so you have these co-parents over these let's say Indian children, and so now they can take them off away from their homes forcibly and abuse them and misuse them and treat them like they're children of the state. The state is the people, all right? Trudeau is not the state, okay? He is the chief public servant of the state. Well, he's not. Whoever holds the position of king or queen is the chief public servant, which is why they have an oath to the people. And then all public servants have an oath to the queen to keep her oath to the people, to keep the common law and the customs of the people. That's what common law is all about. I don't want to hear about your English common law with the judiciary, precedents. That's not the common law, man. Right? That's a type of common law, statutory common law. But the common law of the people is the customs of the people. And the customs of our people is, you don't steal, you don't kill, you don't injure. That is law. Pretty much everything else is legal, statutory, color of law. And I'm sure lots of folks have heard this before. So, trying to figure out the venue of a court that you get dragged in from your so-called co-parent and what they do is they get permission from you to abuse you, because slavery is outlawed in all its forms on this land. So you give them permission to abuse you by either first off, when this Mr. or Mrs. Crown, or this Mr. or Mrs. Her Majesty, or this Mr. or Mrs. Regina, charges you with something. Like, well, first off, the summons is a negotiable instrument that is sold on the market. It goes into a safe. It has a value to it. If you look at most charges, you'll find a value to it. And so when they say you're being charged, right, they're putting a debt upon your shoulders. They're saying, hey, you owe a duty, responsibility, and obligation to your God, I guess. I guess that's what they think they're God over the persons. And how do you plead? Well, plead. When I plead, I plead to my Creator on my knees. privately, privily, right? And I don't plead to some man or woman in a black robe, okay? I see no reason to plead to a man or woman in a black robe. That's my fellow man, my fellow woman. Now, if you wish to bring in 12 of my peers, 12 other gods of this government, 12 leaders of this nation, 12 self-governing creations of our Creator to judge one of their own, that I can deal with. But when you're just willy-nilly monetizing folks on this land, make a whole legal industry out of it, basically selling our fractional souls in New York, Brad Dunn, or wherever, that is basically wrong when there's a man or woman. Now, every person, there's a man or a woman attached to every person, guaranteed, those of mankind. So, you take a look at our native cousins and how they've had this foot on their head for so long, and how they've been treated like children by their co-parents that we call government, which is like literally public service, and how they're keeping their super control over a mandated state media, just like the communists, and not allowing free press. Okay, so today is not the allowance of free press to interview wannabe public servants. Tomorrow is the imprisonment and the taking away in the middle of the night of those of our people that work as free press. That's coming soon to a theater near you. Only the theater will be your house, and it will be Gestapo in flak jackets, masks, automatic weapons, kicking in the front door of your humble home, and that's where we're at now. And if you don't believe me, take a look at what happened to that man, Kel Washington's brother, on the coast, over some kind of maintenance payment dispute from family court. Not a rapist, not a bad guy, okay? Not a criminal of any kind. And yet they have the wrong man, and then they totally harm this man who is innocent, and has anybody, see, this is the problem, we give government mandates to operate in, okay, they're called statutes, okay, and acts, enactments. We give these. This is how the government, the police force, any public service is bound to act. And when you step out of that as a servant, as that person, as that person that enjoys, privileges and benefits from the public, as long as you fulfill your duties, obligations, and responsibilities to the public. The minute you stop fulfilling those duties, obligations, and responsibilities to the public, kids are waving to me on the bus, then you no longer can receive the privileges or benefits that the public has granted you, and anybody that is granted anything can be also taken away. In this case, we are your grantors, okay? As far as your public office goes, as far as being a public service goes, you have no right. Okay, you have certain rights as persons, but you have no, as that person has no, inalienable, fundamental, intrinsic right as mankind does on this land. So I'm watching Trudeau. So no free speech. If the public isn't armed, then the public's open for a major takeover. No people, no nation has ever been successfully taken over where the general public was armed. And this is one of the reasons for the UN mandate on guns. So, they demoralize and have been demoralizing our kids for many years, so that they're amoral, not immoral, amoral, which means, they're coming to the point where basically they don't even know right from wrong. They just know the righteous indignation. It's okay to cause harm, injury, and loss to their fellow man because they have some righteous indignation excuse, which is wrong. We need to bring the morals back in. The one thing I like about our Muslim cousins, and I'm not talking about Islam. I'm just talking about our Muslim cousins and the freedom of religion on this land, which is imperative. We have to have it. Truck stalled. So, getting back to our native cousins again. So yeah, these guys were stepped on. Their spirits were crushed for the most part, as a people, and then they got swindled and sucked into these corporate chiefs and so on and so forth, so they can start acting like the Legal Society acts. And the Legal Society is out of control. They are not our masters. They are not our God. That society is a self-governing society, and it needs to be put in check. We need to bring back the Hippocratic Oath to the doctors they took out quietly here to do no harm. So what now? Now there's no oath, so we can bring in doctors from different cultures from around the world, and they can just cause harm. We get mad fascist scientists that can cause harm. Why take that out? The Medical Association is another self-governing organ that is privileged to operate here. They have no right. They have no fundamental, intrinsic, inalienable right. They're just afforded certain rights as a person, like a corporation. A corporation doesn't have the same right as mankind. We have afforded them certain rights and privileges which can be taken away, which is why they came out with the Privileged Driving Act. A driver is actually a carrier, someone for hire, using the public roads that the public has a right to, but corporate persons do not have a right to use, and therefore they must be licensed so that they can show competency in their ability to drive and keep the public, who does have a right to access the road, safe. That's honestly the way it is. So, we as a clueless, lazy, non-critically thinking public, you get hauled off for some kind of policy violation, policy infringement under the Highway Traffic Act, which only applies to drivers. Then you get a lawyer. Okay, so now you're represented as a legal person, or you go in and you plead to some man or woman in a robe as if they're your gods, which they are the gods over persons. That's their creation. That's way lower. These are two-dimensional courts, by the way. They're not three-dimensional. They're not high enough to see mankind. Okay, we're basically three-dimensional. Some think, or have a good statement that we're four-dimensional. But these are paper courts. These are violations of some kind of legal code that you are not competent or practiced or even legally able to interpret, because you're not a member of the legal society. Right? Only a member of the legal society has the ability to interpret legal code. So they say, well, hey, did you say I broke the law? Yeah. You say I broke the law? Yeah. It's the law before the court. Well, criminal code or highway traffic code or whatever. Well, that's not law. That's a code. That's a codification of the law. We need to start forcing these guys to bring in the law. Okay, you bring this law into court and you show me where I am on that law, where that law applies to I, a man who can pass through the public from point A to point B within my own private. This private cubicle I'm in right now is an extension of my home. This is my domestic jurisdiction. Now, if I was to go speeding or swerving or endangering the public or these are laws. Endangerment of the public is a law. The breaching the peace is a law. This is the common law. And if a man or a woman is doing such a thing, then that is the court. That would be the venue, court venue, right? And that you can also have because it's a court of mankind, and then have a jury of your peers. Okay, trial by jury, court of record. That only falls under the common law, where the magistrate is independent of the tribunal. Right? That is our safety net in the free world, and that needs. So I'm looking at this election, man. Wow. I just want to make one more statement. You see, when they came out with the courts for the Native folks, I think it started in Saskatchewan, Saskatoon area, where, if one of our Natives' cousins does something or whatever, it got sent over to, a tribunal of the Native, for where he comes. You see, that is more common law. Everybody is bitching and complaining, it was illegal, da 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 da. Well, no, actually, that is more part of our common law, where this man or woman can go and be tried by a jury of their peers, which would be the folks from their prisoner of war camp, or reserve, what some people call it. That is more common law, and we have that right also. Just because something is legal doesn't mean that it's being applied properly. And we need to wake up. But, they're so busy teaching our kids how to be confused over their sexual orientation or, so on and so forth. With our money, these crown corporate communist sons of guns that we forgot about, reading, writing, and arithmetic. We forgot about, what about good Canadian history? Has any of the schools ever taught that Canadians were the first to outlaw slavery out of the European countries, out of the West? Probably not. Probably not. Same old British BS. It's easy. It's lazy. Hey, it's lazy and it's easy. There's no phonics. They took phonics and grammar and stuff out of English years and years ago, because they don't want the children, they don't want our kids to know how to break down a word. And where did that word come from? Was it, Franco-based? Was it Indo-European-based? Was it Latin-based? Was it, was it Norse-based? And be able to break down a word and be able to figure out in their own minds the root meaning of a word. And that's what phonics does. Instead, it's memory system. So let's see. So the election, yeah, no free press, no free speech, no free coverage. I think the coverage of the election sucks. I still haven't seen any coverage. I haven't seen any reporters asking any critical questions from anyone. Pretty much lame, soft. I think this whole Trudeau's discriminatory way of life is a way to take away from what's important, like ripping up that contract for the LNG that he gave the Chinese and broke the law. He broke the laws, okay? The contract can't stand. Sorry guys, you got nothing to sue on because the man broke the laws, okay? He broke another law. Which one of you governments is going to mandate that all federal contracts must be supplied by Canadian labor and Canadian materials made here in Canada? Where is that law? We need that law and we need it now. Okay. Why are we not talking about reversing the flow of the pipeline that's going east to west, west to east, so that our maritime cousins don't have to get raped for heating their homes this year or being able to travel, which is a basic necessity on this land. To travel here and transportation, energy is a necessity on this land, not a privilege. We have to have it. Just like we have to have heat, just like we have to have food. These are all necessities. Who's going to take the tax off of our energy, off our necessities? Who's going to start a separate bank account for all gas tax at the pumps to go into a separate account so we can make sure that the people of this nation are not getting gouged on gas tax, because gas is an energy, fuel is an energy, and the only tax that should be there is for the building and keeping of our roads. So it needs to go into a separate bank account. When are our native cousins going to get clean water? Which one of you clowns is going to help these folks out? My vid's coming to an end. The police need to have a reason to pull you over. We got to dump that privileged driving law. It's just another way. Look, they're inching our way in their homes now. They have to be booted out. That's your home. That's your domestic jurisdiction. No one has a right to enter there unless there's a true unlawful act happening, as in, the stealing of our children, slave traders, sex trade, on our little girls. What's happening on the Highway of Tears. You've had so many years to figure it out. Obviously, you don't give a shit about our kids. Well, we can tell you don't, because you're lying to them about CO2 as a pollutant. You're lying to them about climate change. You're lying to them about global warming. You're liars. You're indoctrinating through propaganda, which is wonderful stuff if you are, a fascist Nazi or a fascist communist. I personally don't subscribe to either. I am a man of this land, and I believe that each and every man and woman of this land is the government, and they are the public service and servants, and that whatever the next prime minister needs to reflect the Canadian people, this nation on a world stage, as is the nation, not just the elite group of 1% of spoiled, privileged folks that insult and push around little old ladies from Quebec, and just willy-nilly call people fascists and Nazis. You guys need to be shut down. If we had a proper court, if we could access a proper court, of jurisdiction to hold you accountable for lambasting any man or woman's good name without crown immunity. I'm sure lambasting any man or woman's good name does not fall under crown immunity for a public servant. So, cheers, guys.